Now I am going to discuss three theories on perception, and they are important because they will tell us what they will define what perception actually is and how does it influence human beings. So there are three theories. One theory is from the West, which is March and Simon's perceptual model that was developed in 1960 or 61, 1960, 61. It is not, you won't be able to find it readily on the internet. It was in 2001 that we were taught this theory by one of our teachers. But this theory is very close to NLP's neuralistic linguistic programming. That is very close to their model of perception development or perception framework. Okay, so it's very interesting and very easy theory. That's why I've selected this for the session. The second theory that we'll be discussing is Albert Salon's Ekejing's theory of worldview. Albert Salon Ekejing is a Muslim. He was a professor in International Islamic University, Malaysia. Lately, I'm not aware of his whereabouts. And the last theory is what I am working on, and I have derived it from the ayats of the Quran and also from our early Islamic scholars, which I say is the theory of Qalb, concept of perception from Quran. Right? So let us proceed. Developing required perception is one of the main goals of education, and this can only be done if we design our education, our learning theories from our perspective and not from others' perspective. Very important. First, let us see what March and Simons have to present. They say, due to our past learning, we develop an internal state or a mental state, right? And they are dependent upon our memory content of the past learning, our values and goals that we have learned, that we cherish, the action outcome, or the action outcome, you can also say cause and effect, right? That's a very strong concept or strong domain, a strong learning domain for us, and we conclude many things from the theory of cause and effect. Then the relationships also influence, like parents, teacher, and then alternatives that we have developed with our experiences in our life. So what happens is we have an internal state which decides to a greater extent what we are going to absorb or what we are not absorbing. But another thing which I would like to bring to your notice is your internal state at a particular moment, your psychological condition, your environment also plays a very important role in what to select, what information to select for analyzation, and what to reject. Right? So actually, for any particular moment, it will be your evoked self, what mood you are in, what what psychological condition you are in. That is very important. That will also decide what to receive or what to reject. And then we have environment, which is ever active. Something is happening always in our environment, and the environment releases stimulus continuously. Something or the other is happening, and that impinges our internal state. Now, when we say environment, we have, as we already discussed, that there are few things that will be apparent to you, and most of the information will not be apparent to you. You'll be selecting a few information to process because your mind cannot work beyond that. Right? How? So what happens? You have an interaction with an environment, and that your present state decides how to respond to that stimulus. Okay, and when you respond to your stimulus, that is a new learning for you. Every time you respond, you will have different conditions, different thing coming out, different outcomes. Okay, and that will be a new learning for you. And this new learning will give you, modify your internal state. Just have a look again, please. Right, past learning, your present internal state, your mood, the environment, your receptiveness of what to receive, and something is happening in the environment, and you decide what to select, your prioritization, what to select and analyze. Okay, so as soon as something happens, you react. When you react, that is a new learning. There is a new, because there will be some response to your reaction also from the environment, and that gives you a new learning that modifies your internal state, and you develop this internal state. Now, a question for you. What do you think, how many times this happens in a day? Any idea? Every moment of the time. Every moment of the time, maybe a million times per day. So what does it tell you? Your internal state is not a fixed state, it is fluid. It keeps on modifying as you get more experiences, right? I'm sure the moment before we started the session up till now to this slide, there has been modifications in your internal state or your perceptual framework. It's very interesting. So it is happening continuously when you are awake, right from your birth to your death, right? Even now psychology says, right, when you are the fetus is around 4 months old in a mother's womb, the fetus starts learning. So it is continuous. Very important, just to give you an idea. Now, the theory says internal state is a resultant of our past learning and belief. Our environment influence of one culture is a very important factor. The culture that you live in. Learning is individualistic, as we say that each person has a different perceptual framework that is not identical. Okay, people belonging to the same culture may have a dominating mindset or perceptual framework, but still it will be different. No two person in the world have same perceptual framework. What do you say? It is just like your fingerprint. Every person has a different fingerprint. Every person likewise has a different. So it is individualistic. Learning is individualistic. If you think that we can bring a herd of people and try to teach them the same thing and they should learn the same thing in the same way, is it possible? I leave the question with you. Perception learning right from birth, as per March and Simons. I'm quoting March and Simon here. So we'll do different theories and then you can have a more better reflection. It is fluid. It keeps on modifying, as we have seen from their model. Selectivity, that is the information filtration, that is always there. You just select, a few things are selected from the environment for our process of analyzation. Now we go to the Salon worldview theory, which is equally interesting and which says that every person is born with some priori knowledge. Priori knowledge, as we have seen, Alasto Berabeco. So the knowledge exists in us. And as we will see, that the constructivism says that knowledge is only developed on the a priori knowledge, on the knowledge which you already have, the knowledge can develop on that. And as we see in the Holy Quran, the knowledge, or a big amount of knowledge of Rabbul Alameen exists in our hearts when we are born. That is already there ingrained in each and every person, and that knowledge is to the extent, as said in the Quran, in the ayat, the same ayat, Surah Al-Azab, ayat number 173, that this knowledge has been given to you so that you don't make excuse on the Yom Akhirah that you are not aware of your Rabb. Or you may say that our forefathers made the mistake, they were misguided, and we just followed them. This knowledge is there in each and every person, and that will make him liable to stand all alone before his creator on Yom Akhirah. Al-Paslan says, priori knowledge plus continuous learning give you a conceptual framework. Again, the knowledge that we already possess plus our continuous learning is what develops, shapes our conceptual framework or perceptual framework. And this is a natural quwa, this is a natural faculty in each and every human being. Right? It's a natural quwa, you cannot stop it. It will keep on going. Every human being will have a perceptual framework. Major factors which influence our perceptual framework is our psychological conditions, or the psychological conditions that we have experienced in our life. One's culture, very important, the culture around you where you are growing up, and education, right, or educational factors, because education can be of two types. One is the education which is unintentional education, and one is intentional education, right? Or we can say one is formal education, one is informal education. When we say formal education, planned education, and this is planned by each and every human being, how to educate himself, right, as far as his perceptual framework is. I'm not talking of engineering or medicine. I'm talking about developing one's perceptual framework, one's knowledge about this world. So it can be intentional, unintentional, or formal and informal. Al-Paslan defines that the effects of culture or subconscious development, he terms that as natural worldview, right? There are many things which we do, which is the part of our culture, and they got automatically absorbed in us, and that becomes a part of our behavior, that subconsciously, right? So he says there are two types of worldviews. The one is natural worldview, which is the effects of culture, and the other is transparent worldview, which is through formal and informal education, and that is conscious development. Very important, because this is where we will be held responsible for whatever we learned. Okay, and there are many things. If you even think of the injection of hijrah, that a Muslim should migrate to a place which is more conducive for Islamic learning. So that's very important. If you intentionally live in an environment which is contradictory to the Islamic teachings, it's impossible for you to avoid the influence of that environment. I mean, just that's my view. Please don't take it on your heart, but please do reflect on that. Environment does play a very important role in your perceptual development. And as we see in March and Simon's model, Al-Parsalan also claims that this perceptual framework or conceptual framework is very fluid. It keeps on modifying with each experience. Right? And very important thing is intentional modification is possible. That is what actually we are required to do when we are trying to understand the edicts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his principles, his laws, Quran or by nature. Actually, we are looking for specific knowledge which we are asked, which we are encouraged to indulge in, and that makes a lot of difference in our perceptual framework development. Now I would like to present my theory that I'm working on, and that is the Qalb, or the theory of Qalb as an active decision maker. As we know, we have many elements. Human being has many elements. Some say they have 7 elements. Some say they have 5 elements. Some put 4 elements. I say I am working on 5 elements. That is Ruh, Qalb, Aql, Jism. Ruh, we have a Ruh. Qalb, very clear from the Holy Quran, Qalb, and it is actually in the heart, in our chest. Aql, we know we have all have aql, and jism, we know all have jism, and all these 4 things have their own demands and they interact with each other, which results in our nafs or me or you. Right? This is what I have taken 4 main factors which result in the 5th factor, which is the nafs, right? And this is nafs which will be judged on the last day of judgment. Very important, because it is very clear in the Holy Quran that will be resurrected bodily in the next life. And I was used to think, why should be resurrected bodily? Why can't the ruh taken as some made responsible for whatever the human being has done in this world? No. Ruh is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that must be pure and sure, right? And then we have been given qalb, aql, and jism, okay? And they have their own demands, they interact with each other, and the resultant is the nafs, or me, or the self, or the human being, okay? And some of the ulama have taken nafs as ruh also in their translations or in the Holy Quran. But I feel ruh is different and nafs is the resultant of all the factors that we possess, elements that a human being possess, and it is the resultant of, nafs is what actually we are. As we will go through a few of the ayats of the Holy Quran to make my point, that actual seat of perception is qalb. Actual seat of perception is qalb. Ruh is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jism has his fixed demand. So these are already it's my theory, okay? You can challenge the theory. Theory can be changed with time or with more knowledge. But I feel that Ruh and Jism are pre-programmed. Jism has its own demands, Ruh has its own demands. They are pre-programmed and they are fixed. What is fluid is Qalb and Aql. Qalb greatly influences Aql. Aql, I believe, is the processing unit which Qalb uses to process the information. Okay, our information goes through our brain, through our eyes or sensations, and we have different portions in our brain, and brain is a slave to Qalb. The Qalb will decide or tell the brain how to process the information, because it is the seat of our perceptual framework of how we look at world. This is my theory. So tarbiyah can be used to influence our qalb and our aql. So if you say control of jism, yes, aql has influence on jism. This jism can be, be controlled on different aspects of, or different, what do you say, on different things that a jism wants to do. That control can be influenced by aql. The aql can give some qalb, and aql can give control to the jism. Qalb will, shape the aql, and aql will influence jism. In other words, qalb and aql are responsible for controlling the demands of the jism. Okay,